Welcome to part 14 of the series, and in this one we're going to add some damage functionality to our spells, and also we're going to let the boss take damage. So what I'm going to do first, there's something I want to show you from the previous videos that completely slipped my mind. So we had this overlap fist capsule. So what I did is I got rid of pretty much all the nodes I had except for these. So if you want to take a look at these and pause the video, here we have the overlap, we have a branch, we have an equal from the actor, and get player character. You need that for both. Now what this is he has capsules on his fists. When they overlap the player, we're gonna do damage. We're gonna call this function. Previously we had called it right where the hit sprites were getting spawned. So this is the two nodes that do damage, and I'm gonna cut and paste, and I'll put them here. Connect them to true. So this kind of fixes up something here. It was pretty messy because it's not the right place to put or do damage. This is the right place where the capsules get overlapped, because sometimes you might not even spawn a hit sprite, but your capsules will overlap, so you want to do damage anyway. Next, let's damage the boss here. So here in do damage and apply damage, for damage causer you could just type in self and you'll get a reference to self like this one, and I'm going to explain why we're doing that shortly. So let's make a event any damage, and we want to make sure that if the damage is caused by self, then it's not going to affect us. So damage causer not. If damage causer is not self, then we can proceed. Now just like my player had armor, I want to give this boss some armor too, that maybe he could boost. So damage, I'm going to promote to variable. Then I'm going to get health, and I'm also going to set health. What I want to do is create a armor variable. Make that a float, and 1.15. I had it from the previous video that crashed. So here I'm going to get armor, and I'm going to divide my damage by my armor, and then I'm going to subtract health. I'm going to subtract that amount from my health, then I'm going to set health. But there's something else I want to do, because from our earlier videos and anime montage, we pretty much have a montage of every clip. We have flinch and fail right here, flinch and fail. So I'm going to go and make the boss flinch when he needs to. So I'll make two branch nodes, and I'm going to check if health is less than or equal to 0. If it is, I'm going to play an anime montage, and this anime montage will be fail, so the boss is dead now. And at the end of it, I'm going to set alive to false. But if his health is not 0 or less, here, I'm just going to copy paste this. What I want to check for is damage. I want to make sure that if damage is greater than or equal to, let's say, 5. So I could put flinch right here. He's going to flinch. But something else I want to do, I want to make a variable. So when he's flinching, he doesn't run after the player. Otherwise, you might have sliding feet. If anything goes wrong with this and further down the line, I'll fix it. So I'm going to put two of these. I'll put a delay. Here, flinch will go false, and here it's going to be set to true. So when this is done, I'm just going to compact this because it might be a very long chain of commands. So I want to get another branch. I'm going to get health again, and I'm going to copy this node here, less than or equal to 0. So if it's less than or equal to 0, it's going to go and play his fail animation. So this is pretty much fail, and flinch. So I'm gonna compact these a little bit and move them to the side. So I know this is my segment that takes care of the fail and flinch. Next, I'm gonna go around and see where I need to place. For example, seek player. Can you seek player if he's alive? Yes. So I'm gonna put alive right here. Next, I want to know is, can you seek player if he's flinching? Nope. So I'm gonna put that here. I can copy paste these two for the one next to it for distance player. So he shouldn't be getting the distance if he's not alive. But if he is alive, he should get the distance. And if he's flinching, if flinching is set to true, well, he shouldn't think of attacking the player. We might need these elsewhere too, but I'm going to leave it for now. And here in initialize boss, I'm going to set armor. And I'll put it to 1.15. So this pretty much covers up the boss receiving damage. And not from himself, but only from external sources. So here I could call it get damage. So here he does it and here he gets it. Now I'm gonna save, and next segment we'll continue on to actually dealing damage to him. In our content warrior folder, let's go to spells and open up ultimate GS. Actually before that, let's put a little hack. So in warrior underscore BP, press, I don't know, any key like C. I'm gonna get C. Then I'm gonna go get burst. I want to get burst and I want to set it to 100 here. So when I want to test out any ultimate skill, I don't have to always wait for the burst to go up. I could just press C and it's gonna go jump to 100. Now let's go to a spell and ultimate greatsword spell. In his viewport, let's get this capsule, and I just want to double check its collisions. So I want to change the collisions to custom. No collisions. Leave that to world dynamic. Ignore everything except for pawn vehicle destructible. Go back to the event graph. I'm going to drag that capsule out. Set collision enabled. Connect it to event being in play and put a delay in between them. I'll put it to 0.75. Here I'm going to set collision to enabled. Now what I want to do is apply damage. So apply damage. But I also want to do it when this gets overlapped. So click the little X and the second green plus. Now I want to damage every other actor except for myself. So here I'm going to put other actor. Base damage, let's put it to 500. This is for testing. You can modify it later. I'm going to add a branch. And other actor, I'm going to type not. And I'm going to get player character. Plug this in. So if it's not the player character, proceed. And when you go down, you damage everyone, but you might also damage the player. So what you want to do is type in get player controller and plug that into event instigator. Because if you remember, going back to our warrior, this is where he gets damage. So when he receives damage, first thing, he's going to check if it's instigated not by player controller. Then he can continue. But if it is instigated by player controller, it doesn't do anything. So for that, we're safe. I'm just going to save and test out, and if there's any errors, I'm going to pause the video, fix it, and explain it to you guys. So I'm going to switch modes, and I press C, so look at my limit break, it's full. I'm going to go smash the boss. So you saw that? His health. Look at my health. It didn't affect me. And now he's entered his hurricane kick mode. So now we can damage the boss pretty much. So in the next segment, I'm just going to go over some things and see what else needs to be refined. If not, we'll move on to applying more damage to him with the next spell. Now let's go into the spells folder and we're going to work on the ultimate shield VP. So going into viewport, these are the two capsules I want to overlap with the boss with. And I just want to double check their collision again. Collision enabled. Yeah, we'll leave it enabled. And let's go to the event graph and get both of these capsules. Take off this little X. So on each of them, I'm going to click the second green plus. And this way I can get their overlap events. I'm just going to delete these. Then I'm going to apply damage 2 times. Because I don't want them both to, let's say, 10 damage each. I want it to be a random number in a range. So random float in range. And I'm going to get 2 of these. So each sword is pretty much independent when it comes to damage. I'll just move them to the side like this. And I'll put it to 15, 25. And 15, 25. Next, I'm going to put damage actor and other actor. I'm going to connect these. And other actor, type in not. Paste it. You want to get the character again. The exact same thing as we did with the Great Sword Ultimate. Plug these two together. You want branches. Just gonna connect it all. And at the end, don't forget to put in who it's instigated by. So get player. Another alternative way would be, see, this can go into damage causer. So instead of having 2 nodes like so, character and controller, you could just have character, and then in your warrior blueprint here, you would have damage causer. You would say damage causer is not equal to get player character. But since I did it with instigated by, I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna close this and plug this into event instigator. So I'm just gonna save this and test it out. Well, I'm gonna use my skill and I'm gonna run around the boss. There, the swords are hurting him. As you can see, every time they go by him, they do damage to him. And he keeps flinching, look at that. Because the damage is way too high for him. So it's triggering a flinch animation. You want to balance that out. So we covered how to damage the boss with our spells. Next segment, we're going to cover how to damage the boss with our swords and our kicking attack. And I'm going to fix these things as we progress. Alright, so for this part, what I'm going to do is I'll break it down into some small chunks. And first, we're going to set up a bunch of anim notifiers that turn the collision on and off for our warrior. And then we'll proceed to applying damage. So in the warrior blueprint, you can go into your viewport and click on your warrior and take off his animation blueprint. Compile that. Now what you want is a capsule. So here, type in capsule. Now we can call this sword capsule. And what I want is I want it to be placed right where the great sword and regular sword are. So I could just drag it to, I don't even remember if it was great sword on or, anyways, I'm gonna put it on sword here. And then I'll zero everything out. And change its scale to 1. Just gonna position this quickly. Now personally, I don't really mind if it's too big, but I'm gonna make sure that it pretty much swallows in the greatsword as well. Because his first attack he hits with the hilt, so you want to be sure to have enough space so this can overlap the enemy. Otherwise you'll never pretty much hit him. So now let's go into the collisions for this capsule. Set it to custom. No collision. Everything on ignore except for pawn and the last two. Next, we're gonna go into the event graph, and let's comment this here. This is received damage, so I'll call it get damage. Now let's add two custom events. Let's add them up here. I'm gonna call this custom event sword on, or actually I'm gonna call it ecall underscore sword. Copy paste it and call it decall underscore sword. Okay, that's set. Now let's get our sword capsule and set collision enabled, and put it to enabled here, and the next one put it to disabled or no collision. And I'm just gonna comment this sword on off call for collision. So now that I have this, I need to click on sword capsule and go down, and on component begin overlap, the second green plus. I'm just gonna move this where the damage is getting done. So this is my damage section. Now what I want is apply damage. So we've been doing this for the spells, and we need to do it for the sword too. So damage actor, other actor. Here you want to type in not, get player character, and get player controller. You want to put this into event instigator, and you want to put this into the not. You want to branch. Set that to true up there and connect the condition. The other thing is how much damage you're doing. So random float in range, and in minimum, maximum, you're gonna plug in just that. I'm not sure. Oh, we didn't have it for the player. Or did we? Nope, looks like we didn't have it for the player. But we're probably gonna need to. We're gonna have a lot of green nodes everywhere after this. So we need to make two new nodes. Not nodes, sorry, variables. So we're gonna call this one min DMG. Make it a float. Duplicate it. Max DMG. Connect min and max together. And let's say if you have a skill where there's a damage boost, well, you would do this multiplied by another variable called damage boost, and you would plug that into base damage. But that's up to you to decide. I'm not gonna go with that. I'm just gonna give him raw damage. So now that I have all this done, it's taken care of. What's next is gonna be a part where I'm only gonna do it for a few of the nodes, because there's, look at all this. You guys are gonna have to do it too. So for example, let's go into our sword and shield combo. Let me extend this. Here's the mundane part. So min DMG and set max DMG. So min DMG for the first attack, I would want it, I don't know, let's say 15. Max DMG, I would want it 18. So I'm gonna copy this, paste it, and connect all these nodes together. And pass them down the right line. So while I do this for basically every other combo, so I need some here, I need some here, and here, and also along these lines. So I'm going to pause the video and do all that, and you can do that too. Okay, so I finished up setting up all these little nodes, each with their own values. So as you can see, all the attacks will do different amounts of damage. That's something else that I figured that if you want you can add is when the player dashes, it uses up energy. So this way they won't abuse the dashing. So let's say here at the end of it, or actually right at the start, we're also going to check if he has enough energy to perform all this. Let's see. I guess we could place it. Where does this lead to? Wow, look at this complex web. I'm surprised I made this thing. Actually, it's not this. This is a dash attack. Sorry. Shield dodging. Basic dodging. This is the place. So if he's blocking, false. No. He is not. So let's do a branch. Let's get energy, and is energy greater than or equal to 15? If it's true, you're going to carry on, and you're going to subtract that amount. So set energy, and we're going to say energy minus 15, and plug that in there. Let's say that when you have the shield on, it's heavier, and I don't know, it's a stupid excuse, but it takes more energy. So I'm going to plug that in here, and this will go right there into calculate direction. And instead of 15, it'll cost you 20. So you can't abuse your dodging too much. Okay. And spacebar when it's, where's the release? When it's released, we can add a delay and call the event regen energy. If ever anything happens, like you get an error while loading your game or whatever, well, delete this in case. I'm just gonna write it, but generally I wouldn't write this, but that's for you guys. So I'm gonna save this, and we're gonna continue on with the damage application. So if you go into the anim montage and you check any montage, right click, you're gonna notice in the notifies we don't have enable disable collision, so we're gonna make those. I'll call it equal and decall. Now, just like we did with the boss, here you enable it, and when it lands, boom, you disable it right there. So look at all these montage for attacks, go through them and do that while I do this too. Okay, so I placed all the e-collision and decollision. Just a little tip. For example, if I look at attack 1, he has an E-smash right here. And me, I put my decollision after it, which isn't that good of an idea, because for the next attack I would have to start with disabling the collision, then enabling, then disabling. So I check where he's able to perform his, I think the animation is just bad for this one. But I'm going to put, this is my decollision, disabling it. I'm going to disable right before the player can do his smash attack. So I'm going to show you in a different one. This one I didn't put anything in it because we have no collision capsule on his foot. It would require a separate one. So here, you see his smash attack is here, so I would disable the collision right here. I would enable it, let's say here, and right before he can reach his smash attack, I would disable. So I'm going to save this, go to my warrior blueprint, go into the viewport, and I'm going to attach a capsule on his foot. I call it foot capsule. And then I want to put that in mesh inherited. So like this, and let's go get right foot. Right foot. So capsule half height. You could set it to the same amount as the one below it, so to make it a sphere. And zero everything out. Now I'm gonna increase it a little bit. Okay. Go into its collision, put it to custom, no collision, everything on ignore except for pawn, vehicle, physics, destructible. Just gonna save this. Go to event, the event graph, and here where we had sword collision on and off, just gonna copy and paste it. Now for their names, I'm gonna call this equal foot or kick, whichever. Foot, and do the same for the one below. Change sword to foot. Next, I'm going to delete the sword capsule and get the foot capsule in here. And I just want to double check that my collisions are correct. Yeah, no collision. So now that this part is done, let's go open up the character blueprint. Not the character blueprint, sorry, the animation blueprint. Now in here we need to, oops, what have I done? Never mind. So in here I need to get equal sword and equal foot. And I also need to get decal foot. And decal sword. I have notifies for the sword, but I don't have it for the foot. So first I'll do the sword, then the foot. So I'm gonna type in equal and go get my anim notify. Same thing with decal. So put enable collision together and disable collision together. Just gonna save, and I'm gonna go into my anim montage. Type in, I don't need to type anything in. It's attack 02. Now his equal and decal, I need to replace these with new ones. So equal foot, or you could call it e-kick. Equal decal foot. So now my sword won't be getting switched on and off. Gonna close this and go back into his animation blueprint. And I'm gonna call those events. So equal foot, decal foot. I'm gonna connect these now. And I'm gonna comment this. Look at this, we had nothing here before. I'm gonna call this a toggle collision. Just gonna save this whole thing. And I'm gonna run a test. Oh, already an error. Decal foot. Let's go to our warrior blueprint. Let's compile that. Also go in his viewport, select him and give him his animation blueprint back. There, it's compiled already. So I'm gonna test, and if anything goes wrong, I'm gonna pause the video, check it out, and fix it. So I should be able to hurt him now. Yeah. He seems to be getting hurt by some attacks, but by some he doesn't seem to be getting hurt. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check that out and troubleshoot it and see what's up with it. Just wanna see with the greatsword. Yeah, the greatsword seems to be doing damage, just the right amount. So I had a look at the attack, and most of them, they were working out fine. If you want to know how much damage you're dealing, what you want to do is, if you look under this get damage, we made this. This is the do damage. So I'm gonna call this do damage. Now if you look, all you want to do is take this random floating range and type in print. If you don't get that, type in print and connect these two wires together. So here you're going to have a box that's going to pop up in between them, and you want to connect it. What this will do is it's going to show you exactly how much damage you're dishing out each time. and I noticed that the foot capsule wasn't doing anything, and the reason is because we didn't have one of these things, overlap. So I'm gonna make that for it. I'm gonna go down and component begin overlap. I'm gonna put it with the rest. Here. So I'm gonna copy this node, paste it. Actually I need A, B, C, D, E. I don't know why I'm saying letters. So I need all of that. And connect, 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 and connect. So now that I have all that set up, all I'm missing is player controller and event instigator. So here I can tell what my sword damage is. Let's say I'll keep it blue. I'm gonna copy paste this down here, and I'll change the color here to yellow, orange, whatever. Connect this into the random float in range. So at the kick we should see a number. If we don't, I'll fix it. And I probably won't be fine-tuning this game because I just want to show you guys the essentials of the blueprint and how it works for damage. There, I'm doing damage with my kick. You saw that yellow number? That. So if I switch swords, and 1, 2, chop, chop. Okay, the third hit needs a enable collision, disable collision. So you can see pretty much what you're looking at right now is you have a melee fighting game happening, a hack and slash. Let's finish him off. Boom. Now as you notice, he initiated his ultimate attack and he's not dead. I actually saw that when I was testing off screen. So we're gonna go and fix that up in him. Just gonna save. Now, where is he? Let's see. This thing. It needs to check if he is alive. Then it needs to check if he's flinching. If he is, well, he's not gonna go anywhere. So the ultimate attack. And one last thing, just to be sure, is here in player distance. You could do a branch, and in the branch you could put alive. So if he's alive, he'll continue down, and if he's not attacking and he's not flinching, then you can continue down. It should be an AND variable, I think. If AND doesn't work, you just make another branch. So he should play his animation, his fail animation. Just gonna hack this through and do some smackdowns on him. There you go. Boss defeated, but he's back up again. And I'll tell you why he's back up again. Look at that. The reason why he's up, it's because once he dies in his animation montage, if you look at fail, there's nothing that's looping him back and forth like this. So you would need this is the cheap shot way. You put a montage section, call it loop. And here you want to get rid of this loop. Click loop, and there. Now look. See, it's looping and he's not getting up, but he is twitching. So at the end of your fail animation, put a bunch of frames where he's just completely inactive and not moving at all, and you loop that section. So if I was to go beat him up again, gonna switch modes and do massive damage on him again. And now I'm gonna kill him. So he's starting this, but you see when I hit him in his ultimate, he flinches. Oh, looks like he's back up again. Let's try. Okay, well, I'm gonna go and see what's up with that. And the other thing is I'm gonna prevent him from flinching when he's performing his ultimate strike. So that way the only thing you can do is kill him, but you can't make him flinch. Anyways, I should be dead. Look at my health. So let's fix this stuff. Bam. Okay, in this segment I'm just gonna fix his fail animation first, quickly. So in fail, what you want to do is here after default press loop, and after loop press loop. So if you preview this section, look at what happens. Now he stays down. He's just twitching. I don't know what's happening with him, but it doesn't look fun. So the next thing is make a new variable, a boolean, and call it in ultimate or something like that. Anything to signify that he's in his final attack. And then here in the event, it checks if he's alive or dead. If he's alive, true. Set ultimate to true and continue down the branch. And after your animation montage, after the delay, the jump force, reset, whatever, set ultimate to false. And what you want to do after that is we're going to come down here and get damage, the montage that makes him flinch. Right before this here, you're going to put a branch and put the condition ultimate and connect the false to go down the line. Now I'm just going to save this and test it out again. Ultimately, what I want to make sure is that when he fails, he stays on the floor. So I'm just gonna beat him up again. I know that when I put the death animation for the character, it's not gonna be pretty, because he's gonna easily destroy me. Look at my health. So I realized the sword and shield doesn't do much damage, which is kind of cool, because it's not a broken character. You see him flinching, we're also gonna change materials on him every time he gets hit. So it's easy to tell exactly when you're hitting him. Other than that, we're also going to be exploring hit counters later on. Okay, now I'm going to kill him. There, he's on the floor. He's not getting up either. And if I hit him, maybe I'll trigger the animation. Yeah. You see, I keep triggering the animation. And the reason for that is if you come this far where you have to kill him, you want to get a do once. So if he does die, well, you only execute that entire chain after that just once. Like so. So this isn't gonna happen 2 times. Just like when I was hitting him multiple times. Now I'm gonna pause the video and see what else I need, and if not, I'm gonna end the video after that with some notes. Okay, so here's one more thing we can do. In the warrior blueprint, we're gonna go and check where we apply damage, where we do damage to the enemy. So this section here, oh, these are print strings. I actually don't need these. It was just to check if I was doing enough damage. So here, what you want is probably a do once. I know our character is flinching right now, but let's say if he had a higher damage resistance and he was moving around, well, as long as he moves around in our capsule and it's active, it's gonna damage him over and over. But you don't want that. You want him to hurt him one time, unless it's a flaming sword. If it's a flaming sword, then you don't need this do once, because as long as he's touching the flames, he's gonna get hurt. So I'm gonna take this do once and put it at both of these locations. So I can only apply a damage one time to him. Now what I need is a custom event, and it's going to be called reset DMG for reset damage. I'll put a sequence node, and I'll put 0 to the one above it and 1 to the one below. Now what's going to call this reset damage is right here. Oh, and notice this. This is foot, because we're working with the foot here. So when foot gets disabled and sword get disabled, they're going to call that event reset DMG. I'm just gonna copy paste it just to avoid getting multicast errors or whatever it is. So this is pretty much to deal damage to the enemy. Just gonna test this out. This seems to be getting more and more aggressive, this guy. So there's still a few other things that I would want to show you guys, but I'm going to leave those for the next video because this one's going to drag along way too long. Actually, just one last thing before I stop the video recording. Let's go into boss character. You want to take this Warrock mat and make an instance. I already did, but in case you can't change the color, you need to add a color change parameter, a multiply, and plug it into base. But I already did that at the beginning somewhere, I don't remember. And I have this yellow color change material. So what I will do is, in my boss blueprint, I'm gonna make a custom event right here. I'll call it flinch color. So then I'm gonna get mesh, set material. I'm gonna do 2 of these, and in between the 2 I'm gonna put I'll put a delay, so it's okay if these things overlap. For the second slot, I want to get his original material, and then this yellow one, I'll put it here. But I think the character himself is pretty yellow, so maybe I'll change the color to something like red or something very noticeable. So now every time he gets hit for a split second, he's gonna change colors. One last thing I want to check is in his skeletal mesh. Okay, element 0, he only has 1 material, so lucky for us. It's not a multi-material character. I'm going to comment this to flinch color, and every time he gets hit and he enters his flinch animation, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call that event I just made flinch color. So I'm going to save this and test it out one more time, and that's probably going to be the end of this video. Let's just see what's wrong. Aha, target. Believe it or not, the melee character tutorial is coming to an end, so sure was a long journey, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So I'm gonna hit him. See him blinking in red? So for every time he flinches, he gets that red on him. If you're a master at materials, well, it's probably the right thing for you. You're gonna make something cool out of this. And that's it for this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned a lot, because I'm sure you can carry this on. And I'm really thinking of doing an archer class and taking this game online for multiplayer and doing tutorials on those. So I'll see you next time.